Tonight, my son and his wife slide a care home contract across this table, but they do not know the doctors, the bank, and I already closed that path without them. The folder lands on this table like a quiet threat. I'm Miriam, keeper of calm boundaries. Victor sits at my left in this room, his hand resting near mine. Daniel sits across from us, Mara at his side, their chairs pulled close like they are a team presenting a project. Leah leans on the doorway, arms folded, watching. "Mum," Daniel says, pushing the folder closer. "We just want to talk about options." I touch the stiff cardboard but do not open it. "You asked us here for coffee," Victor reminds him, voice calm. "Not for paperwork." Mara smiles, too sweet. "The papers are just so you can see things clearly," she says. I notice they sat us so that Victor and I share this side of the table while they face us like a panel. I also notice how Daniel avoids my eyes. In this room, around this table, you can see who stands where. "Go ahead then," I say. "Explain." Daniel clears his throat. "You know you lost weight after the hearing," he begins. "You don't sleep well. You mix up days. We worry." "You worry about me," I repeat. The word sits heavy in this room. Mara leans forward, tapping the folder. "We spoke to a specialist," she says. "He thinks a residential care home could help. Gentle routines, nurses, activities with people your age." Victor's jaw tightens, but he keeps quiet. "Read the name of the place," I tell Daniel. He flips open the folder. "Elm Grove Wellness Center," he says. Leah snorts softly from the doorway. "Not a hospital, a business." I let that hang in the air. "So you spoke to doctors about my mind," I say. "But not to me in this chair." Mara keeps her smile, but it is tight now. "Please don't take it the wrong way," she says. "Grief is heavy. We only want support around you." Daniel nods. "It's not like before, Mum. No court, no judge. Just a safe place." Safe. That word has been used on me like a leash. "You remember the judge already said no to your petition," I reply, voice even. "He called me competent in that same room where you raised your voices." Victor finally speaks. "We heard him with our own ears." Daniel shifts in his chair. "This is different," he insists. "This is voluntary. You decide. The staff only ask for a little paperwork." I look at the folder again. Yet somehow the paperwork is already filled in enough that you only need my signature. I open the folder at last. Pages fan out on this table, neat rows of tiny print. "Which part do you want first?" I ask. "The medical release? The financial one? Or the change of address form?" Mara blinks. You already know what is inside?" "Forms sound alike," I say. "They also look alike, and I have seen these before." I tap one sheet. "Here, the line that makes Daniel your responsible contact. Here, the part where he can discuss my care with staff even if I say no. And here," I touch another paragraph, "the clause that allows the facility to help with selling my house if needed." Victor leans in now. "Selling the house?" he asks, anger slipping under his calm tone. "You did not mention that." Daniel fumbles for words. "Dad, that is just standard. It says, if necessary." "Necessary for whom?" I ask. My voice stays gentle, but the room feels smaller. "For the home? For you? Or for me in this chair?" Mara glances at Daniel, then back at me. "You are twisting it," she says. "The center just needs to know there is a plan if you cannot manage things anymore." "Like you told the judge," I remind her. that I could not manage. Leah steps nearer, taking the last empty chair at the corner of this table. Mom is managing right now, she says quietly. She read more lines in 2 minutes than either of you. Daniel winces. Leah, this is not your fight. It is our mother, she shoots back. So yes, it is. Victor's hand closes over mine. That small pressure says, I am here. It also says, I was not asked before they printed these forms. I lift one page so I can see the blanks. Look at these lines, I tell them. Name, address, responsible contact, bank account, emergency decision maker. I point to each space in turn. Every line is already filled with your handwriting, Daniel, or with Mara's email. Every box has a tick. The only empty space on these papers is the one where I must sign. I lay the page flat again. So the only moving part in this whole plan is me. Silence spreads across this room. Mara opens her mouth, then closes it. Daniel stares at the table. Victor exhales slowly. Leah nods once, like something she felt but could not name has just been spoken aloud. Leah breaks the silence first. When did you talk to this specialist? She asks. Daniel shifts. Last week, after the wellness check. I turn my head toward him. Ah, yes. The wellness check that arrived with no warning. 2 strangers in uniforms at this table asking me if I remembered my birth date. Victor bristles. You called that just routine, Daniel. Mara lifts both hands. The doctor said it was important to document concerns early, she says. He even wrote a note about Mom's confusion. Leah looks from one to the other. Did you tell him about the petition that failed? About the judge's words? No one answers. In this room, we hear new silence. The silence of things not mentioned. I slide my hand under Victor's and sit a little straighter in this chair. I met that doctor yesterday, I say. 3 faces snap back to me. You what? Daniel asks. He called to confirm an appointment you made for my evaluation, I explain. I told him I do not agree to secret appointments, so I invited him here instead. Mara swallows. You invited him here? To this table, I confirm. He sat where Leah sits now. Victor was on my left, as he is tonight. We talked for an hour. I reach to the side and place a thin envelope on top of their folder. He left this corrected note for his file, and a copy for me. Leah's eyebrows lift. Corrected. He wrote that his earlier comments were taken out of context, I say. He does not recommend a care home. He recommends that my family respect the court decision already made. Daniel picks up the envelope with shaking fingers. He reads in silence, lips moving. Mara leans over his shoulder. The words on that page are simple, clear. I know, because I asked the doctor to use plain language so even fear could understand it. Victor watches Daniel. Did you tell him my age? Victor asks quietly. Did you tell him I live here too, and I drive your mother to her appointments? Daniel does not answer. Leah speaks instead. You made it sound like Mom was alone, she says, hurt in every syllable. You made it sound like no one cared for her. Daniel's shoulders sag. I was desperate, he mutters. The bills, the stress. I thought if she had more support. Support is not a cage, I say, and stress is not an excuse to erase my voice. I gather the clinic note back into my hand and place it beside the home's admission forms. 2 piles now sit on this table. One built on fear, one built on correction. You spoke to a doctor without me, I say. Tonight I show you I also spoke to him. Leah nods slowly. So the story is no longer only yours, she tells Daniel. Victor leans back in his chair. Who else did you talk to without us, son? He asks. Daniel hesitates. It was not supposed to be like this, he says. We just wanted to keep Mum safe. I hold his gaze. Safe from what? From falling? From forgetting? Or from saying no to you? He opens his mouth, then closes it. The answer is already in this room. I reach into the drawer beside my chair and pull out a second folder. It is thinner, but its weight is different. I lay it gently on this table. This is mine, I say. Daniel frowns. What is that? My own research, I reply. You are not the only one who can print things. Leah leans in. Mom, what did you do? I look at each of them. I spoke to our bank, I say. I spoke to one of their risk officers and to the branch manager. I asked what happens when adult children try to change accounts for a parent who already has competent in her court file. Mara's face goes pale. Victor's eyes sharpen. Miriam, he says softly, what did they tell you? They told me my file now has a bright note that says, Customer prefers in-person confirmation for all changes. Do not accept third-party instructions without her present at this table. Daniel's mouth falls open. You went to the bank? He asks. I invited them here, I correct gently. The manager sat where you sit now. He brought tea. We spread my statements on this table and we talked like adults. I told him about the petition and about the judge's decision. I told him my son is afraid, and sometimes fear makes him try to control things. Leah covers her mouth, eyes wide. Victor nods slowly, almost proud. Mara finds her voice. So the bank will not cooperate? She asks. They will cooperate with me, I say. They will copy me on every note. They will call this number. I tap my own phone. Before they let anyone else speak for me. And if someone tries to sneak around that, they will treat it as a fraud alert, not as care. The air in this room changes. It is heavier for some, lighter for me. Daniel rubs his forehead. You think I'm a criminal? He says. I think you are my son, I answer. A scared one, who let other people write his mother's story. Mara stiffens. We had to do something, she says. You started questioning every decision. The way we handled the investments, the way we managed your appointments. It felt like you were looking for mistakes. I was, I say simply. Because after the petition, after the lies in that courtroom, I learned to read the fine print. Leah stares at her brother. You promised you would never go behind her back again, she says quietly. You said we were rebuilding trust. Daniel looks at his sister, shame flooding his face. Victor clears his throat. His voice is low, but it fills this room. Son, he says, you brought these papers into my house without talking to me. You tried to move my wife out of her home while I still sit at this table. That is not care. That is fear, mixed with control. Daniel's eyes shine. Dad, we just thought. You thought the judge was wrong, Victor interrupts, and that you knew better. Leah places her hand on Daniel's arm. You thought if Mom lived somewhere with staff, you could breathe, she says. But you did not ask what it would cost her. I take a slow breath. You could have said, Mum, I am tired, I tell Daniel. You could have asked for help instead of more power. Leah turns to me now. What do you want, Mom? She asks. Say it plain. Not for the court. For us. I look around this room, at the walls that have heard so many arguments and apologies. I want to stay here, I say. In this house, in this chair, with your father on my left and my daughter close enough to reach. Victor smiles sadly. Leah's eyes soften. I want more help, yes, I continue. But not the kind that comes with a contract that erases my name. I will accept rides, shared chores, a schedule on this table. I will not accept a plan that starts with when she declines and forgets I am standing now. The words land quietly, like stones forming a new path. So here is my proposal, I say, sliding my own folder closer to Daniel and Mara. We write a family plan, not a facility plan. On one page, in simple words. Leah's eyebrows rise. You wrote a policy, she whispers, half amused. Of course I did, I say. It is what we do in this house now. Victor chuckles softly. Read it, I tell Daniel. He picks up the single sheet. Miriam's care policy, he reads. 1. I remain in my home unless I ask in clear words to leave. 2. All medical appointments are discussed at this table with me present. 3. No one signs any document for me. He swallows. 4. If you are worried about my memory, you may ask me questions directly, not behind my back. Leah leans over to see the rest. 5. If you feel tired, you may ask for respite, not control. We can hire help and share cost instead of moving me like furniture. She looks up, tears bright. Mum. Victor nods in approval. Simple, he says. Clear. Mara crosses her arms. What about when things get worse? She demands. What about when she really cannot decide? I meet her eyes. Then we will talk again, I say. But not tonight. Tonight, we talk about honesty. And we start by tearing up those forms. I tap the care home stack. They do not belong on this table anymore. Daniel looks between my folder and his. His fingers tremble. Slowly, Daniel gathers the care home pages into a pile. The sound of paper shuffling echoes in this room like a small storm. He holds the stack for a long moment. Mara, he says quietly, this is not the way. She stares at him. So you choose her over your own peace? She asks. I choose not to lie to either, he answers. Then, with a rough breath, he folds the pages in half. Do what you want, he says to me at last. But don't expect me to pretend this plan was kind. His voice cracks on the last word. It is not triumph in his tone. It is defeat and a thin line of shame. I reach across this table and place my hand over his fist, the one still clenched around the folded forms. I do not need your pretend kindness, I say softly. I need your honest presence. Sit with me when I am confused. Tell me when you feel overwhelmed. But do not ever again speak to doctors, bankers, or judges about my mind as if I am not in this room. Leah nods hard. We can help, she tells him. We can share the load without turning Mom into a project. Victor squeezes my shoulder. We will make mistakes, he says. But from now on, we will make them together, at this table, with all voices heard. Daniel loosens his grip and lets the folded papers fall onto the far side of this table, away from the center. They land with a dull sound that feels like a door closing. Leah pulls my policy page closer and smooths it flat. Let's all sign this one, she suggests. Victor nods. A family agreement, he says. We each take a pen. One by one, our names appear at the bottom of the simple sheet. Miriam, Victor, Leah, Daniel. The ink is not magic. It will not stop time or illness. But it marks something important in this room. Not my surrender, not their victory. Just a clear, calm boundary that says, I am still here, in this chair, and you will not move me without my voice.